An appraisal contingency is a clause in a real estate contract that protects the buyer by allowing them to back out of the deal or renegotiate if the home's appraised value is lower than the agreed purchase price. Since lenders require an appraisal to determine the home's fair market value before approving a mortgage, this contingency ensures the buyer doesn't overpay or get stuck covering the difference out of pocket. Let's break it down with a simple explanation and example. When a buyer makes an offer on a home, the lender orders an appraisal to determine if the home's value matches the loan amount. The lender will only finance up to the appraised value, not necessarily the agreed purchase price. If the appraisal comes in lower than expected, the appraisal contingency gives the buyer options, such as renegotiating the price, asking the seller to cover the shortfall, or walking away from the deal without losing their earnest money deposit. For example, imagine Jake agrees to buy a home for $350,000, but the lender's appraisal values it at only $330,000. Since the lender will only finance $330,000, there is a $20,000 gap between the agreed price and the appraised value. With an appraisal contingency, Jake has the right to renegotiate with the seller, ask them to lower the price, or withdraw from the purchase without penalty. Without this contingency, he would have to pay the $20,000 difference out of pocket or risk losing his deposit if he cancels. Sellers may push back on appraisal contingencies in competitive markets because they prefer buyers who waive contingencies to ensure a smoother closing. However, waiving the appraisal contingency is risky, especially if home prices drop or the buyer doesn't have enough cash to cover a shortfall. Some buyers use an appraisal gap clause, where they agree to pay a portion of the difference if the appraisal comes in low, rather than covering the full shortfall. An appraisal contingency typically lasts 7 to 14 days, giving the buyer time to review the appraisal and decide their next steps. If they move forward despite a lower appraisal, they may need to bring extra cash or secure additional financing. In summary, an appraisal contingency protects homebuyers from overpaying by allowing them to renegotiate or back out if the appraisal comes in lower than the purchase price. While some buyers waive this contingency in competitive markets, doing so adds financial risk if the home is valued lower than expected. Understanding appraisal contingencies is essential for smart home buying and financial protection.